Not a stranger to the NITK stage, we have the multi-talented, multilingual Rahm Shastry as our first speaker of the day. Mr. Rahm Shastry was the Student Council President in the year 1980 and the brain behind the college's Signature Fest incident. Mr. Rahm Shastry has given NITK plenty of reasons to be proud of him. He is the co-founder and CEO of DriveU and Chairman and CEO of Polaris Systems. Today, he shall be speaking about a few of his accomplishments and will be enlightening us further on startup culture in India, Narendra Modi's policies that benefit startups, and will be giving us some more insight on the future sectors of growth and into what field startups should venture into. Mr. Rahm Shastry, NITK welcomes you back onto her stage.
I'm proud to be back here in school. I've been, I call it school, by the way, because I've been in the US for too long. So don't mistake me, college is the same as school in the US. So how many of you are from NITK here in this room? Oh, most of you. Not NITK outsiders? I heard there are only a few, okay. So I don't think if I talk about my experience in school, it will be boring to most of you, correct? So I joined long time ago, before all of you were born. Most of you were born. I grew up in Bangalore, and in high school, my dad got transferred to Dharwad. So I was in North Karnataka for 5 years. Then I came for 5 years for my undergrad at Surathkal. In those days, we were called KREC. And so I had the experience of my native Bangalore Kannada, and then Dharwad Kannada, and South Kannada Kannada. Although I did not master Tulu or any of the local languages, but we could use a few words, so we could use a few words in the mess outside when I go to Surathkal for a movie and so on. So the culture was very rich. When I came to Surathkal, I saw the South Kannada culture was very new to me, and was actually very interesting also. So we learned a lot about the local dance and music and so on, as well as we had a whole bunch of people in the college in those days for sure. Half of the people came from outside Karnataka, so we had a very good interaction with all over India. So clearly a great platform for a small young Indian growing up, and then being able to expose to all the various cultures of India, right? So that's how was my experience. Lots of good memories for me. I guess the first slide is talking about. Let's go through my few things. Ashwin asked me. I asked what should I talk about, and he gave me the 5 topic. He said, "What's your fond memories of Surathkal days? What's the startups and funding? Especially, what is different from US and India now that I'm moving to India, back to India?" I'll talk about that in a minute. And what's the future growth sector that I think? I don't know everything, but I can tell you what I know a little bit. And then some of the Modi government initiatives and for manufacturing, as well as just the excitement that's going on, what Modi is doing in India, outside India. I can give you a little bit of that, project that to you. So the next slide, my fond memories of Surathkal, as I already said, very good memories of Surathkal. I never spent months and months of rain in my life. I came here in June and I was stuck until September, couldn't do anything. I was amazed that there was so much rain. I heard about rain, but we just get tons of rain, and that was interesting to get used to. I used to go to Mumbai, but for some reason Surathkal felt like more rainy than Mumbai. I'm not sure why, but West Coast has the same thing. So there was a lot of rich culture. Yakshagana was very interesting to know about Yakshagana, learn about that. I learned a lot in Surathkal days. We had, obviously, we didn't have so many buildings. Air conditioning we didn't even know air conditioning existed. We barely had a fan in the room, and we had no internet, by the way. We had one phone on 3rd block, And right, some of you might remember. And we couldn't call home. Like you guys can text every 2 minutes to your mom, I need money and stuff like that. But nothing, we couldn't do that. We had to make a call. We had to stand in line and make a call. It would take, maybe a couple of hours. STD calls were expensive. Trunk calls we had to make. So we came from a very, very, I sound like your grandfather or something, right? But, things have changed so much. In your hand, you have smartphones. You have the power of supercomputer in your hand, in your pocket, and you don't realize what you have. What we did not have is, it was just the way it was when I came in 75. So at that time Mrs. Indira Gandhi was the Prime Minister, and she had imposed emergency. So the whole place was shut down. KREC Reddy was our principal. We used to call him principal, not director in those days. And it was an interesting couple of years. Everything was bottled up because of the emergency. You may not even heard of emergency, some of you may not. It just bottled up the whole country. And in 77, it was, emergency was lifted, and then all the bottled up emotions of young people took off like crazy. I'm telling you why I'm saying this is because, so there was all this anxiety of the young people, and I remember in third block, standing there one day. One more thing I was always amazed in South Canada, I was not used to having people having private buses. In Bangalore, it's always Bangalore transportation and everything, BTS. So the buses went slow. They didn't care how many passengers came in. In South Canada, everything was private. So people were competing on Route 2 buses. People were competing to get people, and it's crazy speeds. People are going at 60, 70 kilometers on these roads in those days. And in that process, what happened was one of the students died in an accident. So the bottled up emotions of the young students got off, and then one guy hijacked a Route 2 bus in front of third block. Some of you may, I don't know if anybody will remember, and they burned the bus in front of my room. I saw this happening. And the student union in those days, by the way, I don't know how it is here now, but I think it is different. It was controlled not by quote unquote good students or people who are interested in studies. It was more controlled by the interesting elements of the society. So I was very, I was a good student. I used to usually top in my class and so on. And I told my friends at that time, I will run for student union president. And everybody looked at me. They said, in the past history, if you run for student union, you usually fail. You don't graduate for 7-8 years. Is that what you want? So, and meanwhile, I had ambitions to go abroad. So I said, no, I'll do everything. I said, I can do both. So we did. And thank you, Mr. Ergatti, for supporting me. And in my final year, I did run for the elections. I was also you guys may not even know Ham Club. We used to have Ham Club. I started Ham Club on campus. And, so even though we had some we were some geeky students working with me also. They were actually counting the results and sending me over radio to my, on 5th block where my room was, all sorts of interesting stuff. Anyway, so lots of good memories of school. And then, by then I think the principal had changed to Professor Mahadevan, a great soul. He passed away a few years ago. We actually, exams were getting delayed. Well, those things are not happening anymore. It's awesome. In those days, our exams were to get delayed, 2 months strike, this, that going on. So everything came back to normal. And then when I became student union also, as we said, we engineered, I guess since it's engineer, we thought, we created, and we engineered incident, and we called the incident 80. And Umar TK was the convener. And the name, by the way, incident, I think last night I was talking to some of the alumni, some of the students, was also coined by one of our classmates, Ravi Kalmadi. He's also somewhere in the Gulf or here, I'm not sure exactly where he is anymore. But so that's what the history. We never thought incident would last for 35 years. And I'm so happy to see that happen. Great work. Even though I've been away from this country for 35 years, I watch you guys on YouTube. So I watch Mr. Yaragatti dancing. I've seen on YouTube. Have fun showing it to other alumni back in the Bay Area. So we have had fun. Sometimes in our when we get together, we play YouTube of incident events. So it's with YouTube, you have all the good stuff to share worldwide, right? So that was good. So I graduated and went abroad. I went to my grad school in State University of New York in Stony Brook. Did my computer engineering. Then I got into, semiconductor was a big thing, and I got into semiconductor engineering, so I started working for semiconductor companies, building chips. And then I went to Apollo Computer. We used to build computer workstations back in the 80s. So anyway, in the early 90s, by then I was married, I had 3 boys, 3 kids, and 95, I had the itch to start a company. So we 3 of us working in a company, we decided we're going to go quit our job and start a company. All of 3, at least 2 of us were married and had kids. So what I did was, a year before I wanted to quit, I saved enough money so that I have 9 months of cash, because in the US, there are no father or father-in-law to pay you money or anything, dowry or anything like that. You have to live on your own. And you have to pay your mortgage, you got to pay your car payments, you got to take care of your kids, you got to take them to school. So I said, okay, what's my budget for 9 months? I said, I'm going to quit my job. My wife looked at me and said, what are you doing? But I said, it's okay, I'll get another job. I said, 9 months I'll have cash. I put it in the bank. I said, if I don't get funded in 6 months, I'll shut down the company and go take up a job. That was how I started my first company in 95. And within 3 months, we got funded. And we got funded with this idea. And so last 20 years, I've been in startup world. So learned a lot of lessons. Lots of successes, but lots of failures too. You learn a lot, like I was telling somebody last night, you learn more in your failure than in success. When you graduate and go start a company, don't always expect to win. It never happens. Because the thing is that the big companies, they have money, they got the time, they got resources. So when you do it, you have to remember, you have to have a value proposition that is unique. You have to have things that are make sure that you're flexible enough to make changes, because ideas by itself doesn't matter. I'll go about that in a second on that. So anyways, for the last 20 years I've been there. And my return back to India started in 2011, I would say, because there are 2 brothers, your alumni brothers from Surathkal came to me for funding. That name is, you may know, Raghu and Aprameya. They are the co-founders of Taxi for Sure. And they had started a company, they had no money, they were sitting in JP Nagar in Bangalore on a small 10 by 10 room, and they said they had a business plan and some idea. So I wrote the first check. I was the angel investor, and I said, okay, I like you guys, let's do this. I met them through the alumni. Again, alumni relationship is very important. After you graduate right now, I see that happening even in the Bay Area. In the beginning, you'll be all gung-ho about Surathkal and ITK and everything. You come there, after a couple of years, you get busy with your life and you forget it. Then I see them coming back in 10 to 15 years later, because then they get married, then they have kids, and after about 10, 15 years, they say, okay, come back to the fold. And I see this happening over and over. So the alumni, I met Raghu and Aprameya, and we funded the company. And the rest is history. Earlier this year, we sold Taxi for Sure to Ola for about 1,200 crores, approximately $200 million. During the process, like I mentioned to you, I have 3 boys. My twin boys, they're twins, they were always hanging out with me in my startups and companies that are used to my crazy lifestyle of starting companies and selling companies or shedding companies or starting again. And then they actually got it, they wanted to work with Aprameya and Raghu. And they said, hey, after you graduate in the US, come back to India, work for our company. See, this is called destiny. I don't know where things happen in life. There are reasons why things happen, right? I had no idea that I'll move back to India. Because I was very comfortable in the US. I'm in the San Francisco Bay Area, the center of startups and Silicon Valley. I have a huge network of people. So my son, one of my twin boys, went and joined Taxi for Sure after graduating from college in the US, and he started working for Raghu and Aprameya. And then after this January, when we sold to Ola, he said, "Dad, I have another idea, let's go start another company." And I said, "Okay." He said, "Dad, you should come this week." And next week I was there in Bangalore. We started looking at a company, we had an idea. We got a whole team from Taxi for Sure. Obviously, we knew all the people, brought them on board, the tech people, the ops people, and so on. And we started a company called DriveU. DriveU we launched officially launched out to the outside world in July, late June, early July. And in the process, I initially funded the company, and I've raised some extra money also outside and a lot of alumni friends of mine have also put money in this company, just like Taxi for Sure. And now I'm in Bangalore running DriveU. So since I've raised a lot of money, now I have to stay in Bangalore and make sure it is a success. So I'm going to be here in India for at least several years. I don't know where my future holds. I don't know where I go. But obviously, I'm glad to be there. Like I said, in your future, in your life, there are things will happen. Don't worry why it happens. There is a reason why it happened. Don't worry why something failed, because there is a reason failure happens, because that will be the path towards success. Don't ever fret that. This is always, you see that. So next slide. So what's happening in startups in India? Why did I come back? You know, India has gone through an amazing, when I left to the US in 1980, there are not much opportunities in India like you guys have. You'll have 10 job offers if you want. We didn't have that luxury, especially in the technology sector where I was involved. Maybe in any sector, as a matter of fact. Most of the jobs were public sector. Private sector was very, very few and far between. Infosys started in 80 or 81, something in that range. So nothing was there, the big companies, right? So then the Infosys, the Wipros, the Satyam, and all the people started. What did they do? They do a lot of, what we call as labor arbitrage, right? So the cost of engineer in the US is $50 an hour. So they are saying, let's take the job and let's do it in India for you at $15 an hour. It's the cost. So the US company said, oh, that's awesome. You go do this because it'll cut my cost. So they did, that's what the labor arbitrage happened. Last 20 years is nothing but labor arbitrage. India has not, but for exceptions, there is no product development. It's primarily services. You're trying to do the service for an outside country, whether Europe, primarily North America, and elsewhere. And they give you the spec, you implement it. So last 20, 25 years, this has happened in this IT sector for sure, right? You guys know. And what is happening now is over the last 20, 25 years, people are now realizing, hey, I can do it on my own. I have the confidence to build my own company. So that's what's happening. The transformation is happening in India right now. Now, that by itself wouldn't have worked, but for, you have all the slides. Yeah, that's good. But for the political climate. In India, what has happened is, until the BJP and Modi government came into power, there was no focus on, businesses. It was primarily, a lot of it was, political, infights between parties and who makes more money and so on. But, Prime Minister Modi has done an awesome job in saying, look, we want to transform India, whatever it is, whether it's Swachh Bharat, whether it is, Make in India, but there is a push coming from the central government. That push is actually being recognized all over the world, especially in America. They see this and saying, India is going to be the next big thing. So, second thing is the macro economy of the country, right? So India is so huge, there's 1.2, 1.3 billion people. But now they have the purchasing power. They have the money. People are earning money and they will buy cars, they will buy TVs, they will buy mobile phones, they'll have plans, they'll travel all over the country. So it is the macro economy itself is so robust, and growing at 7 to 7.5% per year GDP is no big deal for India anymore. China used to do that 9%, 10% for 20, 25 years consistently. They did that and they grew. India couldn't do what China did I think China did a little differently. I don't want to go into that today, but what India has done is great infrastructure for the macro economy to be growing right now. So that's another reason. The third is the global economy, what's going on in the global economy. Why India will have the startup fuel is happening in India is because China used to be number one. China is actually decelerating because of multiple reasons. I mean, for all the bad things, India still is a democratic country. Whereas China is a communist one-party state, right? The central government diktat will say, you do this, you build a city of 5 million people, they'll go build it. Whether there is a need or not, whether people or not, they will do it. And it happens. They build super highways and everything. But India, there is all infighting. I know it's kind of crazy, but still, in the end, it's a democratic country. So the world is recognizing India to be more stable in the long run, as well as some of the investments that China has made hasn't worked out well. So India is now again poised for that. The fourth one is demographic. You guys, I mean, 600 million people are under 25 years of age in India. 600 million people. You guys spend a lot of money. Unlike the older people, you don't save, you spend, right? You go out, and I go to, our office in Bangalore, we have it, I'll tell you, in Koramangala, which is a hotbed of startups in Bangalore. I mean, it is like just seeming with young people. You know, midnight, people are walking around, going to restaurants, eating this, that. People are spending money. So young people do that. And so that young people, for the next 20, 25 years, this fuel of young people spending money will make India grow. And more than likely, right now it's number 3 in GDP, in the PPP, the GDP. But soon it'll be number 2. It'll surpass US and probably be right next to China. Because China has much bigger in that regard. And the mobile platform, here's another one. Everybody has mobility, mobile platform. And then lastly, the startup ecosystems. What I see is, people now, startup is not just about an idea. We'll talk about that. It's more about what do you have the ecosystem to create a company, how to start a company, do you have the lawyers who understand what you're doing, do you have accountants, you got people, investors to put money, what kind of stake each get. All that knowledge is now coming into India, and it's in the major metropolis like Mumbai, Bangalore, and Delhi, for sure. It is there. Once all this is in there, the startups will start. So that's where I see why India is going to be, for the next 5 years at least, I think it'll be an amazing growth. And I'm sure some of you will start companies, and some of you might generate millions of billions of dollars of wealth for the country as well. So I'm pretty sure. So I wanted to talk a little bit about why startups fail and succeed. I looked at a lot of ideas in my life. Here you see the first thing you say is think, is the idea. Then you say create and engineer, right? So this is a very tech vision of the world. Hey, I have a new idea, I have a new mousetrap. People will come flock to me and buy my stuff and pay me lots of money. But over the 20 years of being in startups, that's not going to how it works. I don't see that. What I thought was the most important is the idea. Next is the team and execution. I know I have a good team of tech people, the ops people, the marketing, and then I can execute well. Number 3, I said, was the business model has to be there. So if it takes me 100 rupees to make something, I know that customers are willing to pay 150 rupees, so I have 50 rupee profit on each of these. I thought that's the most important. Then I thought funding. People, the more money you have, you can hire a lot of people, you can grow. And then I thought it was the timing. Could be timing. If this is the order I thought in my mind when I started my company, the idea is number 1, team. Actually, what I learned over the period, just next one, is actually the other way. Timing is the most important. Oh, I can't see here. So timing is most important means you can have the greatest idea you have. I'll give you multiple examples which you will recognize what I'm talking about. Timing becomes the most important. If I have the right timing, I can actually get I can take the idea, morph it, I can find the right executive team. I'll give you an example of Airbnb. Everybody knows Airbnb? People know Airbnb. where you rent out your rooms and make some money, like you are a hotel, right? You can, in your extra spare room, you can make some money. You know, when before Airbnb started, a lot of the big VCs in the valley said, this model will never work. They didn't put money. But what happened is there was a huge recession in 2008, 2009, the stock market crash, and that's when Airbnb, suddenly people realized they needed extra money. They said, how can I make extra money? Oh, I got a 3-bedroom house. I'm only using one. Let me just rent the second and third bedroom. And then what happened was Airbnb took off, right? Look at Uber. Why would, same thing with Uber in 2009, 2010, right? I mean, in India, Uber is more regulated because you have to be a taxi driver, yellow plates. In the US, it's not. Anybody, I can be a Uber driver. I don't need to have a commercial license. And I could be, someday I can just turn on my app and say, I will be a Uber driver. I'll make some extra money. I'm driving anyway from San Jose to San Francisco. You know, so if I get somebody on the way, I pick them up and drop it. The big thing is was trust. How do I trust somebody to come in my car, some stranger, and make sure that he doesn't kill me? And so that's what the big thing was. So the Uber figured out a way to make that happen, right? So these ideas, they may not have worked if it wasn't for 2008, 2009. Another idea is YouTube. Everybody watches YouTube, right? YouTube. So YouTube is not a big deal, right? It is just a bunch of, the content is not owned by YouTube or Google. It's all you upload the content. You see something, you upload it. And somebody tags it and you watch it. And it becomes a big thing, you know, there'll be like some dance becomes, 100 million views, right? How did it happen, YouTube? Actually, this idea is so simple. People started doing this even back in 90s. They were trying to do YouTube, okay, in the US. There was one called Z.com. They failed miserably, exact same model. Why did it fail? It was because the technology called codec. People who are double E major know what codec is coding and decoding, encoding and decoding. The video frame wasn't there. It was there, but it was very hard to use. You need a techie, savvy guy to use it. And then the broadband penetration in the US was less at that time. And then came YouTube in 2004, 2005. At that time, the broadband penetration in the US had exceeded 50% of the houses had broadband. And then codec became, Adobe software. They created codec in their Flash, and boom, off it took off. And that's how, so timing is the most important thing in my mind to starting a company. I can tell my own personal experience of timing where, I can try all I want, I can have the greatest team, I can put lots of money, it doesn't matter. You have to have the right time. So think of ideas where you make sure that you have to be very honest with yourself, whether your idea, it's always, an idea is like a baby. It's your baby. Nobody can tell your baby is ugly, right? So when somebody says that, you get upset at them. But be honest with yourself that your idea, I know, and the problem here is, when you have an idea, you don't want to share too much with too many people because they'll copy your idea. But on the other hand, you need to get the validation. It's not just you're not, what they call in the US, blowing smoke. You thought your idea is great and you start doing it, whether it's the right timing. Timing is again very important. Then comes the idea. Then comes the team and execution. You need a team. There's no question. You have the right team. You got to have the right team. And then comes the business model. Business model can always change. If a customer believes in your idea, you can create a business because people are willing to pay money. You can create a way to make the business model work for you, which can make money. Okay? And then, of course, if the business model is there and the customers are there, funding comes right behind it. So I would actually want to be, so this is what I learned over the years, my revelation over the years was think about, make sure your idea may be good, but it is the right time. Okay, that's my opinion. Next slide. Okay, now I want to talk about from the other side. Now I talk to you about as an entrepreneur. I've also been an investor in companies. So as an investor, what do I see? I was telling somebody yesterday, typically in the Bay Area, we are very active alumni community of NITK, and I typically get one 1 or 2 business plans a month from NITK or NIT alumni to review. Okay, I don't invest in. I would look at probably 5 out of 100, even consider investing, and probably end up investing 1 or 2. It's very, because we get lots of ideas. Okay, so the question is, sometimes you feel like, what does the investor want? I do everything, and he's not, interested in putting money. So the thing that really important for a savvy investor, not your grandmother writing a check for you or somebody. A savvy investor means who really understand the business and so on, is, is this a $1 billion idea? I know $1 billion sounds like, everybody's throwing around money, but the numbers. But the thing is, it is very important that you have to have a big space, because if you are in a very crowded market in a small space, you'll be fighting for the money. You're fighting for customers. You have to steal others' existing guys' customer to make your company survive and thrive. So what VCs look for, a savvy VC, savvy investor looks for, is it is a $1 billion idea. I can give you an example. I can go. I don't have time to, but I can do another time. How much time do I have? 15 minutes? 20 minutes? Okay, sure. So think about what's an idea that can scale, that can become a big idea. I know some of you might say, you're only talking about IT and this stuff. I'm not talking about the business, but it can happen in all businesses too. Second thing is, as an investor, I look at, does this team have the skills, okay, or an ability to figure out, even if they didn't have it. So I look for the team, do they have the right background? So to figure out whether they have the business savvy guys and the tech guys, and do they understand the financial business aspects of it. You have to be really looking at this. Does they have a team? A lot of times what happens, I get individual coming in and want to pitch their ideas. Then I said, where is the team? Because very difficult for one person to run a company. You need to go attract a team. To attract a team, it's a huge challenge too, because he needs to open up and tell other people to buy into his vision or her vision and get into the market. And then the question is, another thing is, I look at it as, will this team, let's say there is a team, okay? Let's say it's a $1 billion market. Then I look at saying, will this team survive through tough times? Tough times will happen, no matter what. You can read papers and say how great Ola just became awesomely $1 billion, unicorn they call it. That's all bogus, okay? They have gone through some tough times where they ran out of money. It happens. I have seen it in Taxi for Sure. We were 1.5 months to getting out of it. We had no money left for a month, and we were running so low on cash. Okay, so the question is, does the team have the grit? They have the strength to hang in and make that happen. I look at that also as, because, or do they, first problem comes, they fold up and say, sorry, I'm done. I'm quitting this. I'm going to go take a job at 9-to-5 job at Infosys. Is that what I want to do? So I look at that as another one too. And then the last one is, I look at if is the entrepreneur intellectually honest. That is important, because once we write a check, we lose control. You got the money from us, and we just get a piece of paper, IOU, right, stock, which is worth nothing unless it turns into something down the road. So the intellectual honesty is important, the integrity is important. So I look at that. So those are the things, on the other side, as being an investor, I look for, right? So that's what I wanted to talk about. So anyway, so you guys have seen all this. I just wanted to say this is amazing times in India right now. Last year, there's all these companies. You can see Flipkart started 1.9 billion raised. And Taxi for Sure was also there in the top, where we raised 40 million last year. And of course, we sold the company this year for 200 million. And so you see there's a lot of opportunity in the market. Lots of people are coming into India. So you have a good idea, don't give up, but think about all the things I told you from an entrepreneur perspective, and also think about what the investors look for in valuing a company or investing in a company. So the startup trend, as you guys know, is accelerating in India. First half of 2015, startups received more money than all of 2014. So fundamentally, this year, by end of the year, potentially we'll have twice as much money as last year. And next to Silicon Valley and San Francisco, Bangalore is I think one of the largest places where the money is coming into the country. So we are in the, Surathkal is in the, doorsteps of Bangalore. So Bangalore is really seeing that happening. And there are people expect, Indians have gone abroad, are coming back to India, starting companies in Bangalore, Delhi, Mumbai, and so on. So that's happening also. So this gives you an idea of how many funded startups in Delhi actually had the number of, as far as the numbers, Delhi led the number, Bangalore was next, and then comes Mumbai. And the next one talks about in dollars, next one. And in terms of dollars also, how much money has been raised in the first half of this year. A lot of the money has gone to the big guys like Snapdeal and Flipkart. But the point is there are lots of money available if you have a good idea. Next time. And in the startup trend, this was 41% of those companies reside in Bangalore today, in India. And of which e-commerce, obviously the lion's share, 1/3 of it. And then you have the consumer internet and B2B and so on, mobile platform and SaaS. So lots of money is going here, but I know people who are from metallurgy or mechanical. What about me? They'll say. That comes later on in the manufacturing side when we talk about that. So the top investors for Sequoia is very strong. Tiger Global is a hedge fund from New York. Sequoia is from Silicon Valley. Then there's a whole bunch. Roughly 60-70% are coming from the US. A lot of money is coming from Asia, China, Japan. SoftBank is putting a lot of money in India. So there is a lot of opportunity if you have a good idea. Yeah. And the deals, talk about the number of deals they have done, each of these guys, in the seed round, because that's of interest to you guys. So when you think about in a seed round, when angels come, angels put the initial money with you, and then they convert their money into shares in the seed round. And then comes the next Series A, B, whatever you need the money for. Next one is Series A, or over $15 million round. There are lots of companies with more than $15 million round. Again, Sequoia and Tiger Global are very, very strong in India right now. So what's the future growth sectors, right? I mean, I made a list. This may not be the most comprehensive list, and for sure, because, but what I see is there's a lot of opportunity for looking at analytics, looking at how consumers behave, based on that, optimizing your platform, optimizing your offering. There are a lot of interesting challenges. I mean, not only in e-commerce, but in other sectors. There'll be some exciting things going on there in India. People are looking at companies like that. The obvious is sharing economy, which is like the Ola and the Uber. There are other ideas in that space happening. I mean, to be honest with you, DriveU is nothing but Uber for private drivers. What we are doing is in the sharing economy, in the private drivers. We are actually going to expand that. There are other things we are trying to do. And robotics is also very interesting. And self-driving cars is coming to US right now very soon. Apple may have a self-driving car, so then you have a Tesla, then you have Google obviously has a self-driving car, but they're going into production very soon. They're all getting there. So there's a lot of excitement going on in the self-driving car. And I don't know if self-driving car, I think what I was saying the other day was getting self-driving cars to Indian roads will be a very challenging software problem. It's because in the US or in the Western Europe or something, people keep to the lanes. They don't change lanes, and unlike in India, there are no lanes. It's all imaginary. Lanes are imaginary. My lane is like this. Your lane is like this. It's a time domain question here. One time it goes like this, next time it goes like that. No idea. So that's the reason why I don't know if the self-driving cars will ever work in India. That'll be a tough problem that you guys can solve because you know the market. So energy, I know renewable energy has taken a hit, and I was talking to you about the solar. But still, one of the things I am personally passionate about is sustainability of our world. Global warming, or people call climate change, is happening. We may not notice day to day, we don't see this, but you will see, because I was in Alaska 2 months ago. My wife and I took a cruise to Alaska, and the last time we went to Alaska was about 14 years ago, and what we saw was the glaciers are melting. So what happens is the global warming, the effect of climate change is happening 10 times more in the poles, in the Arctic and the Antarctic, than in the rest of the globe. But imagine what will happen if the way some of the scientists have predicted, we may have 3 to 5 feet of water level rise in the sea. NITK campus will be no more. Okay, you could have water coming all the way to the highway or beyond. Think of all the things that can happen, and I think renewable energy is not a fashion statement. I think this is in my mind a requirement for us, for the future generation, to save Mother Earth. I think the Mother Earth is crying because we are polluting too much. We are right now 7 billion people. In about 30 years, we'll be 9 billion people. And people with money will spend more. The energy footprint is high, right? The energy footprint is the highest in the United States. I take it for, I know, the US population of 300 million, it consumes 20% of the world power, okay? And I know now China is now number 1. And it's not just the life, right? The pollution is just crazy. I mean, how are you going to live? You got respiratory problems and polluting the waters. Think of all the things that we can do we have to save the Mother Earth, I think. To me, you guys can figure out different ways to help for energy. Energy is the biggest producer of waste, right? Either for this air-conditioned room, which we're so proud of, we are putting so much carbon into the atmosphere right now, right? But how do we do this? Can we use Moser Bayer solar panels? Maybe use how do we do? Can we use wind? Can we use a combination? Elon Musk is doing it. One of the problems with solar has been you don't get energy when the sun sets. So he's building this huge, massive plant in Reno, Nevada, where they're building the lithium-ion batteries. So bring the cost down. Initially, he will actually putting it in the electric cars. By the way, my son works at Tesla, so I know all the stuff going on within Tesla. My oldest son works at Tesla Motors, building the electric cars, and then use that same battery pack to save energy that you consume generated during the day. Use it at night. So the idea here is that we have to get away from fossil fuel at some point. I don't think we can get away from it for the next 50 years, but as long as we change this, if we don't change it, our Earth will not be sustainable. We will have so many problems that we don't even want to get there right now. So there's a lot of opportunity there for you as engineers to think and create products and services in that area. Last time is healthcare. Last one I talked about is healthcare. There's a lot of exciting things going on in healthcare. We have cracked the DNA. We can have customized care. Depending on my DNA, the care I get in the hospital can be different than your DNA because the medicine that affects can be most effective for me may not be the same thing for you. So that's another interesting stuff going on. Pretty exciting stuff going on in the Bay Area right now, and I'm sure it kind of percolates to India also. Yeah, I'm done. So the Modi government initiative, again, I'm very proud that we have a central government which is thinking of this. I've never seen a Prime Minister of India go to Red Fort on Independence Day and talk about Startup India and putting 2,000 crores behind it. So they are encouraging startups. I mentioned Tesla. Tesla wouldn't have survived without the government backing $500 million loan back in 2008. They would have been dead. So what Modi government is doing, I think, is good, but also we need to make the right decisions in terms of who gets funded and so on. Overall, I think what is happening, they are coming back. They went to Silicon Valley 2 weeks ago. They had a big powwow with Apple CEO and Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg and other people. You guys saw the big bear hug that Mr. Modi did to Mark and all the good stuff. But I think the bottom line is I think he understands what works in India. I think you guys are very lucky to have a prime minister like that who's spearheading that. I think that will create more opportunity for all of us in India. Next. So, okay, same thing with the manufacturing powerhouse. So, India has come a long way in manufacturing. Still, of course, nobody can beat China. We all know that. China makes amazing number of stuff at the lowest cost that people cannot really compete. Having said that, India can become more of a manufacturing house because India has more strong in software. So what is happening now, all systems have a combination of hardware and software. I believe going forward, I mean, if you imagine Apple coming from a computer company to build a mobile phone, they want to build an Apple car. Imagine you'll be driving an Apple car in 5 years. More than likely you will. So the car, a mechanical engineering, this is where the opportunity for all the rest of the guys, right, who are not in IT or E&C is, you have mechanical engineering, you got all that things that you can do, work, seamlessly with the software and electronics. And I think there's a lot of opportunity in India for that also. Okay. Given that I don't have much time, I'm going to skip. So thank you for the time, and I really appreciate your time.